reason to hurry. I don't know where you're running to. You know you don't need to worry. The world is turning to come to you. There's no reason to hurry. I don't know where. Hi everyone.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Hi, Amrita. Hi, Sanat. Welcome
Hi.
to the live stream. There is a lot of late OP. The irony on the day when we are talking about discipline. I know. Don't think I don't know because I know. I hope the voice is audible, and we are. I think it's okay. Our audience is extremely strict. I think we were late by like 40 seconds, and there is so much disciplined OP, late OP, doc is late. Oh, the irony.
They
Oh
were
God.
waiting for it.
Yeah, they were
You
just
played right
hoping.
into in their hands
They were
with the
hoping.
topic.
I know. The irony will be when we do time management, and we are like half an hour late. We should do
Which is
that
time
just to
management.
Yeah, just for kicks we should do that. Huh?
just to
Yeah.
trigger people. Oh man, welcome to today's live stream, guys. How are you been?
Good-ish.
Good.
Oh, us.
Yes, you guys. What's up, Sanat? How have you been? What have you been up to?
All well. Nothing much.
Yeah, work is going on. You said you were. Next week we were just talking of. I was hoping to have you on a live stream next week, but you might have COVID duty.
Yeah. I
Mm.
mean, if it's not there, then I'll be on the live stream.
All right, Amrita, what's up? How have you been?
Busy.
Busy.
Yeah,
Excellent.
sleep deprived.
Oh, lovely.
Oh,
Yeah.
Good. So now you can talk about discipline from a much more
Yeah.
personal
yeah,
sense.
correct.
Yes.
And also, if sleep deprivation is a part of discipline.
Oh, let's get to that. Someone note that point down. Gopal Singh, yes, please don't beat the table. I know. I already know all the lessons now.
Please don't what?
Beat the table. So wait, I'm gonna do it just to trigger people. When I do this, it irritates.
That's what you do?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, he gets all excited and like claps and hits the
you
table.
just stop doing that now.
I should.
Come on.
I really should. Okay, Shraddha Pawar is going Amrita OP. So I think, is she a fan of yours? She must be a fan of yours. Amrita,
Thanks.
Miss Nonchalant is saying, so glad Dr. Siddhi introduced you.
Aw.
Introduce you.
Women are
Amrita,
so nice, yeah. Thanks,
you
Miss
have
Nonchalant.
fans.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Today's topic is discipline, and it's been on my mind. I was sort of thinking between habits and discipline because I wanted to talk about both of them.
Mhm.
But I thought that maybe we should talk about discipline first, because then whenever we do talk about habits, it'll make a lot more
There's a
sense.
base.
There's a base.
Yep.
So we will talk about discipline. And oh, excellent. Look who's joined in. I'm so happy that Vidit could come in. I was hoping that Vidit,
Hi.
hello, welcome.
Hi, Vidit. Congratulations.
Hi, Vidit.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. How are you?
We're all very good. Thank you so much for joining in.
I didn't want to miss out, man. I didn't want to miss out. FOMO.
I'm super thrilled that you're here. It's a very proud moment for the whole country that you know what you've done. We were following Samay's live stream. That was incredible.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Feels
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it must have been like a crazy couple of weeks for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was like super intense, very stressful. And I think you can explain what it must be going on in my brain. Like complete crazy dopamine rush, depression, everything was happening at once.
And you must have gone through like a lifetime of hormones in that
Yeah.
one week.
Exactly. So it was from 8 or 9 days, but it felt like a month.
Yeah.
I don't know why it happens like that.
Because
Well,
yeah, like time. So the topic is suggested. We are definitely doing that. We are talking about how the brain perceives time, and how time has no relevance really. It's so different at every moment. So yeah, what you felt was probably that you went through like months in just a week.
exactly. I think so many emotions and you're constantly like at work. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, yeah. So let's start with you only with it. Like we were talking about discipline, and we're going to start off just are you a disciplined person?
I would say at times,
Hmm.
but when I don't have a clear goal,
Hmm.
I'm not disciplined. I'm a bit of a mess. I mean, with my scheduling.
Right. So when
Yeah.
you are, yeah, correct. When your timetable is on one side, you are
So it's like, let's say I have a tournament coming up, and then I know exactly what I have to do, right? Then I'll make a plan that okay, in this day I have to get this much of work done. I have to do my physical training. I have to do my like chest training for 2 hours, 3 hours. I have to go for a walk and talk to my coach for 1 hour, something like this.
right.
Then I make sure, because I have a clear goal what I want to do, and then there's discipline. It's not like I follow it 100%,
Right.
but I, because there's something at stake and it's of value,
Yeah.
then automatically it's somehow I get into that zone. But let's say now I don't have any goal, any tournaments coming up, then it's like अरे आज 1 बजे I should have slept, but still okay 3 बजे तक कुछ देख लेते हैं YouTube पे है,
Yeah.
इसके साथ बात कर लिया, उसके साथ बात कर लिया. Then it's a bit of a chaos
Huh.
कि कोई schedule नहीं है. When there's no goal, I think they said no, if you don't know where you're going, any path can lead you there.
That's true. There is
And
you
that's a good
can't
one.
end up in a wrong place if you don't know where you're going. Yeah.
Exactly.
Also, that time after 2 a.m., I think all discipline goes to hell.
True.
2 a.m. is that line that you should not
The-
cross.
I don't believe Sanat. When I look at him, I feel like he's very disciplined, and
Yeah.
Oh.
it gives me that feeling. So I don't think he's 2 a.m. person.
Yeah,
That
Morning
is
2
7
a.m.
a.m. person.
I'm already in my third sleep cycle, probably. So
I
I
was
don't remember
right.
what 2 a.m. looks like. Doesn't say I'm disciplined, but I don't.
Just
I don't
sleep a
remember
lot.
what 2 a.m. looks like. Yeah.
So, Sanat, what is your take on discipline? Are you a disciplined person?
Yeah, I would like to believe, at least in some. Now that Vidit has validated it, I'm sure I am. But yeah, at least I have a source to say that I am disciplined.
Right.
But yeah, so exactly what he said, that if there's something that I'm working towards, or something that I'm looking forward to, I'm more disciplined. It doesn't say that I'm not disciplined when there's nothing. I probably will get in maybe an hour of exercise or something like that even then, but still I think let's say the discipline quotient comes down.
Right. So again, it all depends on what's at stake.
Yeah.
Amrita, what's your
Yeah, I mean, the combination between how valuable that particular task is and who am I answerable to,
right?
both of them merge to
Are you going to
define.
say that I have never been indisciplined in my life and I don't know what indiscipline is, and I'm just here to learn about indiscipline from you guys?
Shut up.
She didn't know what is failure. So if
She
she had
Yeah.
decided
Oh.
something,
Guys, stop
She has
quoting
done
me
it.
out of context. Okay, there was a sad story following that. Please remember.
Yeah, and she thought 88% was a failure or something.
Yeah.
No?
My mummy daddy did. I didn't. No, of course, I am highly indisciplined in a lot of places. In fact, when I told my father today this is the topic, he's like, "But that's not related to you." But so instead of giving my like personal opinion, I actually want to read out what it says in the dictionary.
Oh, I love that she brings the dictionary every time.
Yeah, I want to read out the
Okay.
definition so
Definition.
that we know
What
how
we're
much
talking
we're
about.
deviating from that when we talk about it in real life,
Hmm.
right? Okay.
Okay.
So discipline is training that corrects, molds, or perfects. All right, that is one.
Sorry, say
What,
that
that's
again.
it?
Training that?
Training,
Yeah.
noun form. Training that corrects, molds, or perfects.
Oh,
Okay.
That's
okay.
the first
So
one.
that is discipline as a verb form.
No, as a noun.
Mm,
Okay.
So not to discipline. Discipline as a
Huh.
noun form is training. Training in the noun form.
Right.
okay.
Training that corrects, molds, or perfects. Another one is control gained by obedience or training,
Hmm.
which is orderly conduct.
So I think that everybody instinctively knows
Yeah.
what discipline is, but when you try to put it into words, that is
Yeah.
where it's a problem.
It's
Because like
really
you
difficult.
said, हाँ ये सब, I mean, for a dictionary it's fine, and everybody feels like I'm disciplined sometimes, and most of the times I'm not, and everybody feels like I should be a little bit more disciplined.
Yeah, so the dictionary, like another meaning is system of rules governing conduct or practice, right? So a lot
Right.
of this is it's almost sounds military, right?
Yeah.
Very hardcore, based on correction or punishment. Whereas in the real context, I was talking to my friends about it, for a lot of them, discipline meant having a routine. It meant being organized. It didn't have a negative connotation. So that is a disconnect that I saw between what it's supposed to mean as per the
And
dictionary.
what it means in the everyday life.
Yeah.
One thing that I thought of was that there are things you want to do. Naturally, instinctively, there are things you want to do. You want to get up and you want to do something. It doesn't take discipline to do that.
Correct.
Like watching a YouTube video.
Like watching
I
a
mean,
YouTube
it's
video.
very simple. You
It's-
just go there. Yeah.
It almost happens automatically. It is your instinctive response. And discipline, the word discipline or the concept of discipline only comes in when somehow the thing that you want doesn't seem to be in line with your so-called big picture plan. That is the only time when discipline, that concept comes in. Does that sound true?
I would think it's the opposite. That if
Okay.
it's, I mean, you sort of know that it's in the big picture plan, but it's not interesting you now. Then I would think discipline comes in. That I need to train my brain for it to work for the big picture and not for my immediate satisfaction.
Give me an example.
So like my big picture plan is say to pass an exam a year on. My immediate satisfaction is going to come from watching a YouTube video.
Right.
The big picture plan, I don't, so I need discipline to say no to the YouTube video.
Correct.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is exactly what I said.
Correct.
Because that if you don't have discipline and you're just in a automation,
Yeah.
you will just watch YouTube videos, and then you will keep doing whatever you want to do until the day before the exam, when your fear kicks in, and then you will want to study.
Yeah.
And that is how most of us sort of go
I
through
think
it.
it's
Yeah.
have to study, no?
Yeah.
Have
Rather
to
than what.
study.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because at probably the time when have meets want, when have ka jo, if it's like a weighing scale, when the have to goes up, and then finally tips over, and then there is nothing else.
Okay.
I believe like in everybody's life, there will always be have tos. It's never want tos. There's nobody like who is just doing what they want to do. Always there is some uncomfortable position they are in, that they have to do some work which they really don't want. It cannot be like your profession. I'm not talking about profession, but in day-to-day life.
Interesting. Like, can you tell me what are you thinking of when you said that?
So let's say I play chess. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Okay? But there will be a lot of work related around it which I don't really enjoy. Let's say I want to, because I'm traveling, I will have to select the flights and do all this paperwork, do visa stuff, which I don't want to.
Right.
But I have to
But
do
you
it.
have to.
It's not like my profession I don't like, but
Right.
there'll always be some work around it.
Yeah.
Maybe at like ye ho gaya, corona ho gaya, maids are not coming, you have to wash the dishes. You know, it's not all like,
Oh,
any
God.
point in life, anybody's life, there will always be have tos. We cannot
Yeah.
get away with it. That's what I
Yeah.
felt.
A lot of activities that are involved in everyday routine are mostly have tos, right? I mean, making your bed in the morning is something that my brother hates to do, but he's still going to have to do it
Hmm.
because that's just you need some sort of discipline to live some sort of an orderly life. You
Excellent.
can't
So
be like
then,
a hermit.
what happens if you don't? So since we are talking about discipline, and you're saying that you have to do it, what happens if you don't do anything you have to?
Exactly. There
It's a
may
problem.
not be a very huge problem if you don't make your bed,
Uh-huh.
but I think some sort of an illusion of a structure or a routine that this is what I have to do throughout the day. Like you need some sort of pattern to follow. If you don't have one, then would you be able to function at all?
But let's say in an example, I have to go to a tournament and I have to take care of the visa. If I don't do it, I'll not go there.
You won't
Yeah.
go.
So
Right.
there are some where
So
like,
there'll be the stakes will be very different
Exactly.
on not doing stuff.
Right.
So the visa have to is a very high stake. There
Correct.
is no
Yeah.
two ways about it.
So
But the washing vessels every day, putting the clothes in the machine every day.
at least
Yeah.
6 people have said in the chat that it will lead to chaos.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think that is absolutely correct, that if you don't do the things that you have to, there is chaos, and then the price of that chaos is absolutely dependent on that situation.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
a bed being chaotic will have its that low stakes effect, but
Right.
with it not doing his passport, the whole country will be like, why can't you do your passport properly? But chaos is chaos, and we are attaching the price to it. Actually, उसका कोई मतलब नहीं है. But if the bed is untidy or your passport is missed, these are just events in the universe. But we are attaching positive and negative value to it.
Everything is arbitrary.
हाँ, it is. I mean, that we are not going to explain it again and again. वो तो हो चुका है. The point is then, can we say कि at every time we talk of discipline, it is some attempt to bring order to chaos
For sure.
yeah,
at any
Agreed.
level,
agreed.
right? And uska importance will be different for everyone at different times, but at some level chaos से order लाने के लिए discipline चाहिए. Does that sound okay?
It's like
Yes.
there are some things which you should be doing, but you don't want to do, and for that you need discipline. कि पहले से like you tell yourself, okay, you have to do this. You cannot get away with it,
Right.
and it's good for you.
Hmm.
But I know you're lazy, and your limbic brain will kick in, and you'll not feel like doing it. But
Like he's talking to me.
no.
Trigger.
No, it's I'm talking about
Personal
my
attacks.
experience where I procrastinate. So.
Yeah. So it's almost like everything. Suppose your brain gets an idea of wanting to do something. It has to go down one of these two paths. Either you want to do it, in which case it just gets done, or you have to do it, in which case you have to put in some effort, or you want to do it and you stop yourself from doing it, which is also part of discipline. Yeah.
I think I'll just disagree on one part where you said if you want to do something, it happens automatically. I doubt that. We
Okay.
all want to be successful. We all want to be rich, and we all want to lead a like perfect life. But just wanting something doesn't it because it's the intention.
Right.
We also need the skill for it,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So just wanting to do something doesn't automatically mean that we end up
True.
doing it.
I get that. But then the examples that you gave are super abstract.
Yeah.
So like wanting to be rich is a very
Or let's say I want to become world champion in chess, and I play chess,
Huh.
but it doesn't automatically is given that even if I work,
right.
wanting automatically does not lead to.
Correct.
Or let's say I want to lose weight,
Mm.
and many people want to lose weight, but it doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of effort required. I don't think always it correlates that wanting gets it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sanat, were you saying something?
No, so I mean, wanting may be an end result, and the way to get to that end result may not be enjoyable.
Yeah, exactly. If you bring that want, whatever it is that you want, if you want to lose weight or be chess champion, if you bring that down to today, so if you want to be chess champion next year, so now it is 10 a.m. So now at 10:30, what should I do?
Exactly. So I feel discipline is the thing which
Hmm.
bridges, you know,
What you want and what you are doing.
yeah, your
To the
actions and your
yeah
wants. It
yeah
bridges that, then you can achieve it. So
to the
discipline is
Sort
yeah
of
that
bridges your
factor.
long-term wants with what you're doing now. Because
Or
your short-term want might be just to watch a YouTube video. So you
Hmm.
don't need discipline for a short-term want. But
Hmm.
like what your long-term goals are to get there. So
So,
that
yeah, you were saying something?
no, just the visual that you created was such a nice one. So it's almost like if you are standing and all around you have basically infinite choices. You could choose to be anything. You don't need to choose to be a grandmaster of chess, but you did. And so it's almost like you have put a pin on that. And now there is a line from you to that point in the future. And so it's like what you're saying is that discipline is you constantly coming back to that line. Now if
yeah,
that
I like.
line wasn't
yeah.
drawn, it you could have gone anywhere, but now you are on that line. Yeah, tell me.
So it's like I want to go to a destination that is Grandmaster. I'm at this other point,
Yeah.
and there is a car which is the actions, which
Right.
actions will lead me there. Discipline is the driver. Only when it sits there, it will go.
Lovely.
Stupid imagination, but
No, it's awesome. It's really, really awesome because you have actually helped me to visualize this much better, because then when I draw this later, it'll really help me to explain it, because this is exactly what happens. Yeah, Amrita.
So this is something I learned during my design learning, is that the difference between what you are doing and what your final goal is friction. We call it friction. That is the difference between what you're doing and what your final goal is.
Okay.
So for example, if your final goal is to eat a home cooked meal, the things that you have to do to produce that result would be buy groceries, wash them, cut them, follow a recipe, etc., till you finally get them. Now, if you do everything by yourself, this is how much friction you have. If you order from somewhere, this is how much friction you have, right?
Hmm.
Bridging that friction is the task, and discipline is one of the ways of overcoming that friction or
Right.
reducing it, I think.
Understood. Um, yeah, like you're basically saying the same thing
Yeah.
in that sticking to that one line that you draw. So you are here, you have an end goal. That end goal is completely subjective to you. Everybody's end goal will be different. But once you fix that pin in your future, now in that whole the darkness, now suddenly there is one line that you have only drawn, or somebody has drawn for you.
For you.
It's usually one of the two.
Yep.
And or maybe not even so there. Okay, that's a different thing, but there are some people who have not put a pin,
Correct.
and that is a very interesting thought, because then what is discipline there?
there
But
is no discipline. No, that's
I
why.
think there could be a pin, it's just not
Yeah.
as far away. For example, my pin could be just learning something new every day. So my pin is really close by. It's right here. And today, if I read a fun fact off of the internet, I learned one new fun fact. So I've reached my pin. So
yeah,
maybe it's still there. It's just not as far away as everybody else's is. My goal could be different.
that is, I have to agree with that, because as we just discussed, time is subjective.
Yeah.
So you don't need to have a goal which is 5 years later. You could have a pin that is only 5 minutes later, and you could keep putting a pin five minutes later.
And that's true more so right now than ever before with the whole
The
pandemic situation.
only
and
problem with
everything.
that is, how would you differentiate that from just wanting stuff?
Why do you have to differentiate it?
Because that is what you were trying to do, no?
No, I mean, why instead of having the pin really far away and being like, I have to go through these many number of roads to reach there. I take that away. I put the pin really close by and I just take like one jump every day. I'm basically breaking that down, right? And making it easier for me.
Okay. Guys, what do you think?
So it's like there is a red pin, but there are a lot of green pins in between, which
On the
is
way.
using as the one stop.
stones.
But the main goal
Yeah.
might be later on. It's just
Yeah,
breaking
but to
it down.
hack myself, I don't
Yeah.
differentiate properly in the red and green. All of them are just red and they're just closer. So I feel like I'm achieving a lot.
I think it's like having short goals, because then
Yeah.
you feel good that
Yeah.
you have completed one.
Yeah.
Like
Correct.
instead of thinking like I'll be mindful my entire life, I can be mindful of the next 5 minutes I'm speaking to you. Then I achieved it. I can do it. But then if it becomes a habit, slowly I'll be mindful for more number of times. Something like this, I guess.
Yeah.
If
But
you do have a long-term goal,
Correct. That's what I was saying. So maybe like imagine an army officer who, there's no doubt that there's discipline there in the armed forces. But for an army officer himself, the army itself might have a long-term goal, or its long-term goal might just be very abstract, say protecting the country. There's no one red pin. For an army officer, there's no one red pin at all. He doesn't even know where he's going to be posted or something. Yet he's up at 5, he's doing his drills or whatever. Eating at 12, being fit without a long-term goal. So is discipline only the road to a long-term goal?
So I love that you said that, because okay, let's do a thought exercise. Let's remove all rules. All rules. You are in a jungle. No society around you.
It's so stressful.
Why is Amrita anxious?
Yeah, I know. She's like,
That's no rules stresses me out so much.
Yeah, so you have no rules, no society. You are maybe stranded on an island. Now, theoretically, you have a choice of living in absolute chaos. कोई कुछ नहीं बोलेगा, कोई कुछ जज नहीं करेगा, कुछ भी नहीं करना है तुमको, जो मन में आए तुम करो. But you're in a jungle. Now, tell me, would you end up being more disciplined or less disciplined?
पहली बात तो humans create patterns for themselves no matter what.
Okay.
You leave them in an empty room also, कुछ ना कुछ वो routine बना लेंगे उसका. So that's just how we operate. There was digressing, but there was an experiment where a person was left alone in a room with one box that if you touch it, it will shock you. It will give you an electric shock. They were asked not to touch it, and it was an empty room. Every single participant touched it after a while. And the interesting part is they got a shock. They, experienced the whole thing, and they did it again just because they didn't have anything else to do.
Right.
So we need patterns and we need some sort of structure.
But here, what I'm asking is, if suppose you remove all rules and you are in a jungle, what happens? So everybody who has sort of been stuck on an island and all that has always come back with stories of how they had to develop a very, very fixed schedule. A very fixed routine. They had to go fishing at this time, find themselves a place to stay, sort of build their own house so that they don't get eaten up, and everything has to be so strict just for survival. And
how many people do you know who got stranded on
they're not on my WhatsApp group. These are just stories I've read.
Life of Pi.
Life of Pi treasure.
ये कैसे friends है? I want to know them.
No, the idea of because the other extreme is what Sanat said. In a military, we are in the other extreme, where the system has so much of discipline that an individual soldier need not have too much discipline himself or herself, because the system takes care of it. So it's almost like as if there is a sum total of discipline required for a system to function. Either the system has to make all the rules, or the individual people have to be that disciplined. Is that Yeah, because that's what I mean. When you just said that, that's what I remembered. कि हम लोग को लगता है कि हम अगर सारा rules निकाल दिए तो it'll be so much fun. But then a system needs that much amount of discipline to survive.
Yeah.
Correct.
Agreed.
So it's almost like the more amount of more amount of discipline the system has, an individual is allowed to be more and more chaotic.
Right.
Which is why schools
That
are
again?
so, like for example, children
Mhm.
can grow anywhere, can be anything. Why do you think schools have been so strict? Like morning ye time se ye time tak, everybody wears the same uniform. I was just trying to think of why things have evolved in that way. Because it is easier to make a system disciplined
Only
so
then you
that
can exercise some sort of control.
control, exactly. And the minute you reduce the system ka discipline levels, either the individuals have to up their own discipline levels or the system goes into chaos.
Got it? Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With it, when you play chess, how do you use this? Because in sports the rules are very, very fixed, but at some level you do need to manipulate them. You do need to bring a little bit of unpredictability.
I think instead of just playing, the place where I require discipline is in training, because playing automatically हो जाता है. Training is something which it's not, I would say, where it requires discipline, I feel like. And उसके भी दो तीन part है, as you said. When I'm looking at chess and I'm not planned कि I look at this variation, and
Right.
and one of the streams you hit on a beautiful point. I think I don't remember which stream it was, but starting on a blank slate,
Yeah.
I was much more creative. So let's say I have a file जिसपे मैंने सारे notes बनाए हुए हैं, ठीक है, and then I start to work on it. I don't get new ideas, but
Right.
let's say I have a blank slate and I'm thinking, I get a lot of ideas.
Right.
Yeah.
So sometimes this discipline and system can restrict your mind to
Correct.
think freely as well.
Exactly.
But I feel there's some discipline is required for you to sit down and work also. So I don't know the balance where system and organization, how
Yeah.
much it should be.
Oh God.
Sorry,
Absolutely. No, this is
No, absolutely.
it
That's
is
very, very
so
correct.
bang on. I mean, that is so true. Let's take for example, okay, Sanat, you are also a painter.
Yeah.
Tell me, in art,
Yeah.
art is essentially, so art is not really equated with discipline. Like art is considered as free flowing and wherever your thoughts go and all.
Yeah.
But every artist who has been doing it for a long time knows
Yeah.
that it actually takes up even more discipline than other works.
Correct. Exactly.
So how does that work? So how is your experience with that?
Yeah, so I was just thinking about this this afternoon. So I mean, if say you consider arts, let's just say which art comes to your mind when you say discipline. So you do have certain arts where, like Indian classical singing, for example, or
Right.
dance, where you'll just identify with that art having a lot of discipline. And say if you're looking at something which does not have discipline at all, then like what you said, an artist drawing whatever he wants in his own studio, and then keeping the times he wants, keeping and painting for 1 hour and then going for a walk, or then painting for 12 hours the next day. So that's what the mind sort of visualizes when
Yeah,
you're
like the
sort of
artist's life.
yeah, if you're talking about the spectrum of discipline as we know it.
Yeah.
But that said, so I was just thinking what we mean by discipline. Like, is discipline just doing something over and over and over again, which then sort of differentiates between the classically disciplined arts, like say the martial arts or something, and something which is free? So I was thinking, is what is the opposite of discipline, for example? Like is the opposite of discipline freedom?
I'm going to say chaos.
Okay, but say so. So an artist is free to do what he wants,
Yeah.
whatever he thinks.
Yeah.
Is that a lack of discipline? Because you said he's just doing. Is freedom not discipline?
I feel discipline actually gives more freedom.
Yeah, correct.
Exactly.
You can do
Discipline
what you
gives
want to do when you
Exactly.
are more
Yeah,
disciplined.
absolutely.
discipline gives meaning to freedom.
No, and discipline actually can give you freedom. So, yeah, like say financial discipline can give you financial freedom, for example.
True.
Very good example.
So, I mean, you will probably get much freer,
Yeah.
much better off if you've sort of invested from day one. That kind of thing.
Wonderful
So,
example, I
yeah.
would say.
Even
And-
artistic freedom,
Yeah.
when you think about it, artistic
Correct.
discipline, the more disciplined you are, the more you learn the art.
Correct. So exactly. So
And the more
then
you know,
when
yeah.
so then the outcomes are different. Like for a painter, his outcomes are say increasing his technical knowledge of paint and color and mediums. And for a dancer, the outcomes might be getting finesse in a particular movement. Amrita might be able to pitch in there. So the outcomes are different. So the disciplines are, I mean, or the modes of discipline are probably different. So for a painter, it may not really matter how many hours he spends per day, or if he restricts himself to his studio for 3 hours a day compulsorily, or if she does not do anything else.
Yeah.
If a painter is going around walking, etc., that's what he's doing. I mean, he's getting to be a better painter. If he goes abroad, looks at a museum, looks at other forms of art, widens his repertoire, he's getting to be a better painter.
Yeah.
So despite not traditionally disciplined, I would say that that's still discipline.
Discipline. Amrita, so even in dance, so there is like free flowing dance, or there is very, very like classical form of dance. So is that like a spectrum of discipline?
Kind of. I mean, when you say free flowing versus classical, I mean, the classical in itself already has some predefined rules, whether you're a disciplined person or not.
Right.
You still have to follow that.
So it's
But
like
what
a discipline system.
Yeah, what I'm going to say is, for a lot of people in the art community, discipline means just constantly showing up and doing it.
Yeah.
You don't have to be able to paint perfectly every single time, but you have to paint once every day or once every 2 days.
Yeah.
For most artists that I know, and even for me, discipline means at least investing time in it regularly at regular intervals,
Yeah.
no matter whether the result is perfect or not. Just doing it again and again and again. That is what discipline is.
It's like it just keeps coming back to that discipline is not thinking about the aaj ka abhi ka kya hai, like just do it and then baad mein dekha jayega, like it'll
Yeah, like the end goal isn't the fact that I got 10x better. The goal is कि मैंने आज भी किया. That is what you're working towards. Just doing it every day is the goal.
So when Sanat said about financial freedom also, and the basic concept of how you grow with discipline, I feel like it's almost like we're talking about a ladder here. So if there is in a ladder, you need to just sort of build a step for you to be able to climb on to the next thing. And sure, there is like infinite growth possible, and you could grow anywhere, but then at every level you need to make sure that okay, this is solid, this will not fall, and only if you have that base can you go to the next one.
Yeah.
Right.
So but then in a ladder there is a lot of empty space also in the middle, so it's almost like it's alternating. So you need you need discipline to build that step, and then you need a little bit of chaos to see, okay, abhi kaha jana hai, and then you again you need discipline to build another step, and without one the other is sort of pointless.
Yep.
That's sort of the visual image that I'm getting with it. Are you're lost in thought?
Yeah, I was lost enough because I feel it's very important to differentiate between system and discipline,
Okay.
because we are getting sometimes they intertwine. So discipline, I would say, let's say I have to practice 2 hours a day, and I can do that anytime in the day. And how I do it, then I can have freedom of let's say it's not like, okay, I have to sit with a book and read the book. In practice, I can be like, oh, I look at the games which were played and I analyze it, and that there is free flow of creativity. I'm doing, there's no system there, but discipline is I'm making sure that I do every day 2 hours.
Yeah.
So it's not because we are confusing, because we say when discipline is there we lose creativity, but I think that is because of the system, not because of discipline.
Right. So I don't want to get that message across at all. I don't think that discipline makes you lose creativity as such, but at some level I think that, so I'll tell you from my perspective. I write poetry. And poetry can be either with no rules, तो तुमको जो लिखना है लिखो, and if you call it a poem, it's a poem. Or on the other extreme, there is hundreds of rules. So like for example, if you want to write a sonnet, it's a traditional kind of poem. You need 14 lines. Each line has 14 syllables. The rhyme scheme is A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, like that. And so every aspect, so in every line, every syllable has to be thought about and planned before. Now that is the other extreme. And somehow learning that system, being very, very disciplined, lets you explore poetry in a way that earlier I could not. And just because we explore that, what it is like to be absolutely disciplined in something, then it gives you the freedom to go wherever.
It's the whole learning the rules to break it later wala funda, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in school we are told that the goal is to get so many marks. So you have to learn a certain way. When you grow up, you realize the point of learning is to acquire knowledge. So then you can devise your own ways of learning. Then you don't have to learn from a book.
Yeah.
So once you know what the discipline is, what the system expects of you, then you can go on to dismantle it and create your own pattern of discipline.
It happens in sports all the time. Every player who has reached a level, I mean, they are playing by the rules, sure, but then they do things that is always a little
get them
surprising.
one level higher.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I didn't know that this was possible within this system.
Yeah.
In every sport, I mean, whether it's football, whether it's chess, whether it is tennis, when Federer plays certain shots, you're like, I didn't even see that coming. Where did he even do that from? Although we also know the rules as much as he does, but then there is that sense of creativity within the system. And if you remove the system, creativity has no meaning.
I just want to point out the latest example I saw of this is the whole Rashi meme that's been trending, wherein it's a dialogue from a serial and this music composer has given it beats and rhythm, and it's become such a catchy tune. I mean, maybe 20 years ago, no music composer would have thought of doing that. They wouldn't call themselves probably a music composer doing that. But I mean, whoever that person learned the rules, he broke it. He came up with this entirely new way of approaching music and content, and it's gone crazy now. So I think learning the rules to break it is the whole
thing. Think of it as a society. Okay, so now we talk about it on a very individual level, but then in society, the reason that throughout human history there has been a lot of explorers and human beings themselves. So right from the time when we were a tribal culture, we would that hunter gatherers say, when we evolved, there would always be explore, go out of your comfort zone, find a new place, and then settle down, and then you build your new colony there, and then you explore still further, and you are trying to expand your horizon, so to speak. And it is almost as if there are two aspects of your brain that are doing these two things. there's one part of your brain that wants to know more, grow more, curiosity. इसमें क्या होगा, ये करूँगा तो क्या होगा. So it's like that part is the one that is trying to distract you, trying to open up Twitter. What is going on?
It reminds me of an example I'd read on a blog. Like our conscious mind is like a spoiled child, and when you're spoiled, you throw tantrums at your home and your parents tolerate it. But when the same spoiled child goes to his neighbor, he knows that his tantrums will not be tolerated there. When he goes to his friend's house, there he'll be very sweet, polite, and अच्छे से behave करेगा. So
what is allowed and what is not.
Correct.
So I think the problem here is like many times I struggle with, we are talking about self-discipline, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I struggle with, let's say I know that I should exercise 1 hour each day.
Yeah.
But it's not, I don't get it done. So why does it happen? Why are we not able to keep up with that discipline? Although we know it's good for us.
Yeah.
Why do you think is that? That's one question which really bothers me. Why we are not able to do that? When we know it's good for us.
Do you want like a metaphorical answer or a neuroscientific answer?
Neuroscientific answer.
All right, then I'll just.
We also want the metaphoric.
Yeah, the metaphor is like sab moh maya hai, but
I knew that was coming.
So I've been reading this for a week now, and it's interesting because ऐसा एकदम अच्छे से, there's no one paper where I could find that neurobiology of discipline पूरा explain, ऐसा नहीं है. But
discipline itself is probably sort of shaky concept.
Exactly. I mean, it took us like we were talking for almost 45 minutes just on the concept. Let's
sort of
understand.
Put our fingers on. Yeah, we are still not there.
We're still not there.
Nobody had the discipline to write one paper on it.
Wow, that is so meta. The idea of discipline, actually, the reason I think it is so tricky is because it involves all the words that we said, and each word is like a concept in itself.
Yeah.
So when we say want, what does want mean? When we say have to, what does have to mean? Have to, when we say motivation, so what does motivation mean? And what is interesting is हर एक ये सब चीजों पे papers है. So it's literally like putting them all together to try and make sense. So that is what I'm going to try. Okay, this one is tricky because this is something that I am still working out.
Now it feels good that there is some diagram, Now it feels like a complete stream.
We need an audio visual.
Yeah, okay. So stick with me here, okay? I'm going to try my best to explain it.
Let's do this.
Okay, basics, you all know the 4 lobes. There is the frontal, there is the parietal, the occipital, and the temporal. Now in today's stream, we will not be talking about occipital and parietal. We don't need them much. We do need temporal because it has the limbic system, of course. इसके बिना कुछ भी नहीं होगा. And we need the frontal because it has the prefrontal cortex.
Yep.
Now, when we say basic wants, then we are talking of limbic system. So whenever we talk of limbic system, we can compare it to a rat. So whatever the rat wants or whatever the rat is afraid of, we are also wanting and we are also afraid of. So those primary drives though will always be there. So pleasure and pain, तो वो तो होना ही है, and that is coming from the limbic system. That is done. The complicated stuff happens here in the prefrontal cortex, and the one area that we talked of is where motivation happens. So this is where your identities, मतलब मैं कौन हूँ और मुझे क्या चाहिए, and very very closely connected to that is लोग क्या कहेंगे. Basically, literally, what will society think? And these two areas put together will kind of decide your everyday actions. So your what will society think का area का नाम है orbitofrontal cortex, and motivation का area का नाम है let's call it medial frontal cortex, medial PFC. And this part is very very closely connected to the limbic system, like एकदम tight bonding है. तो जैसे ही we feel like if the limbic system says, hey, I want to watch YouTube, your motivation also says, हाँ ठीक है, unless society disapproves. So this is like the most primitive reason I think why people found it easier to just make the system better. तो system अगर disapprove करता है तो आधे चीजें यही निकल जाता है. So this is what children do. So in children, your motivation and what your limbic system is saying is not very different. Limbic system क्या बोलता है? वही I am my limbic system. So if I am hungry and I want a chocolate, that is me. That is my identity. There is no difference between what my limbic system wants and what I want.
You know, it's so apt that I had a chocolate box right in front of me and I wanted to have it since 1 hour. But is it appropriate to have a chocolate on stream? What will people think? And I controlled. But then eventually I removed what will society think and I had one.
Stop making personal attacks with us.
I was also thinking about the 2 a.m. ice cream conversation that we had.
So with it, what you just did was you let your motivation become very equal to your limbic system and you removed your orbitofrontal cortex.
Basically, I gave in
You
to
gave
the
in.
temptation.
Yes. And
What does the orbitofrontal cortex say? Like what your self-image is?
yeah, so what is allowed in society and what is not. So लोग क्या कहेंगे? What is socially appropriate?
Okay.
And this is very contextual because it depends on your society.
Right.
So if your orbitofrontal cortex is gone, then all the things that are socially disapproved will become acceptable for you. So you might start taking a bath in public, for example. Or you might
Your inhibitions are gone.
Your inhibitions are gone. And if it is very very gone, you might become socially inappropriate, so antisocial behavior. So it is all degrees. So with it, this is how it starts, where you start eating chocolate in public. I'm just saying.
Do you want to look at chat? You haven't really.
Yeah. Wait, I will. I think I'm just going to.
He's in his zone right now.
Yeah.
I'm just going to explain this. Where does discipline come in? अभी यहाँ तक तो मुझे चाहिए limbic system says, motivation says, हाँ, this is me. So what I want, what my limbic system wants is me. So my identity and what I want is in sync. उसमें कोई doubt नहीं है. And society गया बाहर में. Or society is approving of this. Which is why when you stay alone, you are at a much more higher risk of watching YouTube all day. Because there is no society to tell you anymore. मम्मी पापा नहीं है, कोई नहीं है, तो ठीक है. It is now up to you. So only your limbic system has a say and what your motivation is. Who are you? So M for me. So if that is also okay, then go ahead. The only thing that can stop you is this area here, which is the most important area as far as discipline is concerned. This is called as DLPFC. It's a long name, but it is basically dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. And for this discussion, this is the most important area, because this is the one that amongst all the other work it has, this has something called as response inhibition. And this is where discipline comes in. So when your limbic system says eat the chocolate, and your motivation says, हाँ, I am somebody who likes to eat chocolate, and your orbitofrontal cortex says, अरे लोग कुछ नहीं खाएंगे, खा ले. Only your DLPFC is standing in the way. Ki, no, don't do it. You can't do it. For whatever reason, because that is not in keeping with my long-term plan. This is not what I'm here to do. I'm here to learn.
Explain DLPFSC more.
Yeah, the word?
Yeah. I mean, I don't
its
exactly
functions.
get it. What is response inhibition?
Sure.
exactly?
And where does it come from? How does it know that?
Yeah. What does it make its decisions based on?
One second. So first of all, the word, it is dorsolateral PFC. So this is like the area. So dorsal means upar, lateral means outside. So this is the part of the brain where it is located literally. So if you, I think if you tap on your temple, you are sort of tapping your DLPFC. So when you're
so this actually doing this has some point to it, yeah?
That's
मैं
like
chocolate खाऊं या नहीं?
So
It's like
unagi also has a reference.
Yeah.
absolutely, it's unagi.
He's switching it on, DLPFC.
Very true. And when you're tapping it, you're literally like, computer को start हिला के देख रहे कि चलो काम करो.
Come on, DLPFC. Inhibit everything. You can do it.
And the idea of response inhibition. So the word means response is what you instinctively want to respond. So if I say 1, 2, 3, and then I leave a blank, in your brain you might say 4. Or there are all those games, when you play in a circle and then you are supposed to say one word or you're not supposed to say another word.
It's like this nonsense game.
If
I mean, I'm not calling the game nonsense.
The game called nonsense.
It's also contextual, right? Because when you said 1, 2, 3, my dancer brain said and.
Exactly.
Sure,
yeah.
Whatever.
But some response came automatic. That's what he meant.
So, like for example, if I say 1, you have to say 1. If I say 2, you have to say 2. 3, 4. But if I say 5, you have to say go. Now, if I keep doing that, you will fall into a pattern. And then 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, and then half of you will say 5. But then you have to stop that response because your natural response is to say 5, but your DLPFC stops you because you now have a plan saying that your plan is to say go when 5 comes. That is response inhibition. So whatever is your instinctive response, to be able to hold on to that and pull it back and say no, iske badle ye karo, that is the role of DLPFC.
Another question is, so this instinctive response is not limbic. It is PFC only as a result of your personality and your motivation.
Your instinctive response can be anything below this. इसके नीचे से तुम्हारा instinctive response कहाँ से आ रहा है, that is the next discussion. But it is like DLPFC is the final gate.
Got it.
क्योंकि DLPFC के आगे it is direct action. So DLPFC से निकला तो then you either end up saying something or doing something. So your DLPFC is the last security guard, and your DLPFC doesn't really make decisions itself, but it's sort of the main role. So one is response inhibition. What?
Is it a filter?
It's filter is one. So response inhibition is very much a filter. Like you instinctively feel like doing something, but your DLPFC stops you. And interestingly, alcohol में ये कम हो जाता है. And
I was just about to point that out.
Yeah. So in alcohol, a lot of your DLPFC functions are going. So what else does the DLPFC do? Your DLPFC helps you plan. So now, if you say, I want to be rich, it's your DLPFC that breaks it down. Saying, what does rich mean? And so if I want to be a millionaire in 5 years, that means that every year I have to earn this much. That means every month I have to earn this much. So that means every day I have to earn this much. So your DLPFC can do that. What else can your DLPFC do? It can switch between tasks. So multitasking is a function of DLPFC. So if you are doing one thing, so now you turn to take the chocolate, suddenly your entire attention will go into the chocolate and you'll be like, अरे क्या मस्त chocolate है, chocolate के ऊपर क्या लिखा है, इसका और क्या क्या brand है. If your DLPFC is not working and your attention shifts, there's nothing to bring it back.
Oh, okay.
So then your discipline is gone, because if you keep shifting your attention to whatever catches your fancy, how will you come back to your main line?
It's like a strict trainer, who is like, just, okay, this is not the track you have to run. Wherever you get off track, he'll bring it back.
Bring you back. Yeah.
So what exactly happens in cases where DLPFC could be damaged?
All of this. So when they will not, they'll be very confused first of all. Although they may not seem confused, they will seem super confident, but they will not be able to arrange things in a sequence. They will have no ability to stop themselves from doing something. So then अगर instinctive response आ गया तो वो एक response inhibition चला जाएगा. And working memory. So all the things that I'm saying now, for the next 5-10 seconds to few minutes, they are not stored in your brain. And then now suddenly if I show you a very, very interesting YouTube clip, most of the conversation that we're having now will go away. So it is your DLPFC that keeps everything like on your RAM.
Committed
कि अच्छा ये सब रखो for later review, so that I can now decide इसमें से क्या क्या मुझे long term में store करना है और क्या क्या मुझे फेंकना है. So your DLPFC does that. And the what I think is the most important role is fluency or fluidity. So your DLPFC can quickly jump from task to task, and अगर कोई challenge हुआ तुम्हारे plan में, it can quickly modify it.
So problem solving.
Like problem solving, exactly. So problem solving is a better word for it. So now there is nothing else really in neuroanatomy as far as discipline is concerned. According to me, I'll keep reading, but then from what I've gathered, discipline is like the sum total of all of these things. So if you're now, let's draw that. So this is Vidit and this is his final pin, and this is the line. Now obviously in life you will want to go down this road, but then you will keep getting distracted, and every time you do get distracted, your DLPFC pulls you back, like hey bhai idhar ja, idhar.
DLPFC should be really strong. Is it possible to train it?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Now that's the thing. Like every other network, DLPFC is also trained. And one of the main reasons why I think that children are disciplined is to train their DLPFC. Because this is a skill. Response inhibition is a skill. And they have actually done this experiment where they showed I think marshmallows or something.
Yeah, marshmallow experiment.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, it's a famous one then. So
yes.
And they found that the kids who can postpone immediate satisfaction, they are able to. So that means, so postponing immediate satisfaction is a sign of response inhibition.
Basically response inhibition.
So they can say कि okay, अभी एक मिलेगा लेकिन बाद में दो मिलेगा. So I'm not going to go for the one right now.
Right.
And it's not just humans actually. Even monkeys have been trained to do that. Like some of them were given two later if they didn't pick one, and then they kept doing that. But because they also have a DLPFC, a lot of animals have it, but we have a much bigger one. And this is discipline. This is it. You put all of this together. Now, what are the other things that can happen that can go wrong with discipline? You can get distracted. तो एक होता है कि distract होने allow मत करो. Response inhibition. मतलब तुमने उधर ही stop कर दिया. But if you do get distracted, multitasking gets you back to this. Like just because you're doing one doesn't mean that you can't focus on your main thing.
How multitasking
No, I
gets
didn't
you
understand.
back?
Sorry.
Like for example, if I have an exam to study for, and if I get a call, my entire attention does not have to shift to the call just to attend it. Because if it does, then I can just go on that road. But if I'm able to keep studying and then handle the call properly and then keep it down and come back, that means that my primary focus need not shift from this. Whereas if you are not good at multitasking, then there is a higher chance that you will completely shift out. Does that make sense?
Yep.
My belief is, for me, multitasking just really doesn't work. like this fragmented focus, I feel the efficiency is really low. It's rather if I do one thing at the time,
Yeah.
it's much better.
Yeah.
For me, multitasking is very tough. And DLPFC, I've realized ki it's like even in meditation, there is only one rule, that when your mind is okay, you have decided to focus on your breath, it'll go away to somewhere else. You have to gently bring it back, and that's what it is, DLPFSC. And
Absolutely.
Yeah, correct.
also,
Oh,
like I've realized that when I'm playing a game and there is like a temptation ki easy move, like I see that okay, my intuition is kicked in and it's like okay, let's play this move, but there is always like okay, you make double check it, triple check it. That's where it requires ki DLPFSC might be kicking in and saying okay, no, don't be impulsive, make sure that it's the right one.
Yeah.
And this I have seen it because I've trained to do this. Many times I used to go with my impulsive move, but then in training itself I made a habit that no, I'll double check, triple check, only then I'll do it.
Yeah.
So I guess it's possible to
Right.
train it, but it requires effort. Like it's willpower bhi aata hai na usme thoda, it's
Willpower-
exhaustible energy.
When you say willpower, you are saying DLPFC. There is nothing else. Willpower, in fact, your whole concept of free will, matlab the kind of free will that you understand, ki what I want to do, DLPFC is like its pinnacle. Or I mean, of course, free will is not just one layer; it is multiple spectrums. But then free will is like a DLPFC is like its absolute pinnacle, that last tip. Ki tum kya kar rahe ho? And which is why what you said with it, I love it. When you said breathing ka, when you said meditation, like I wanted to talk about this on a completely different stream, but it's just such a beautiful concept because breathing stems from here. Like this is called as brainstem, and that is the one of the most primitive parts of the brain. Absolutely primitive. Matlab, I think snails and uske bhi pehle ka part hai. And DLPFC is here, which is like the most evolved. And literally when you are meditating, what you're doing is you're turning DLPFC ka attention here. And you keep coming back to here, because your brain will keep going everywhere. Like look at the TV, look at the sound, hear the sound, all that. But you're bringing it back to here, which is at your base of the brain, almost. So if you look at meditation from a neuroanatomic point of view, it completely changes the way you think about it. Because you're turning your attention inwards. And not even just inwards, not even just on your who you are, what you want to do, what you want make you happy, sad, or none of that. You're bypassing all that and going
all the way back.
And I'm still reading about this, but yeah, I love that you
Is
brought
that
it
one
up.
way of training your
Yeah,
DLPFC meditation?
absolutely.
And in meditation itself, they say that the only way to improve your, let's say, mindfulness is that let's say your brain, you have decided to breathe like for 5 minutes, you'll focus on your breathing, like not decided to breathe. That's not a choice.
There is a disease where as soon as you forget to breathe, you stop breathing, and that's like a very, very dangerous problem.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Ondine's curse.
Ondine's curse.
Yeah. So it's where your circuitry is broken, where you can only breathe voluntarily.
That's also called having a crush.
Limbic lady.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah, but then
So-
correct.
So I was saying that wait, I have to get back where I was. So let's say I've decided to focus on breathing, and okay, 1 minute I am there, but probably then it's like my mind is, oh, there is no threat here, I don't need to be so focused, no need to pay attention. Then it goes away, and then I have to bring it back every time, and every time I bring it back, this it gets better.
Yeah.
It gets stronger. So next time, let's say if I do for 1 month, I'm only able to focus for 1 minute. Next month I'll be able to focus for 10 minutes,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth, because I have made this practice of bringing it back wherever it goes. And is that a way of training? Does it
Yeah.
help? Like what happens? How does it train when we do this, like attention?
So this is very closely linked to attention, and we've already spoken about attention at great
Oh,
length.
okay.
But this is exactly that. So when I talked about this, right? So whenever you get distracted and you come back, this coming back jo ho raha hai, this is actually just a DLPFC neural network. So
Okay.
there are
Strengthening that.
correct.
You're
So
forming a
literally
new network and then strengthening it
strengthening it.
constantly.
So a network is basically a neuron, and this ends in another neuron. And if you make it fire once, it will start getting connected. But if you make it fire 1,000 times, there are actual changes in the receptors. मतलब if you zoom in, ये receptor level पे things change.
Is this muscle memory? Is this
Brain memory? Yeah. So muscle memory is this, exactly this. So the reason why you can't cycle on your first attempt, but then on the 10th day you're just cycling, is because every neural network has learned to keep your balance. And similarly, this. So every time you get distracted, if you keep bringing it back, those neural networks will get stronger and stronger. And it's like any other exercise. Practice.
Brain is also like a body part which has to be trained, like
absolutely
any muscle, any other muscle like bicep, which you have to improve, you have to constantly work out. Same goes with the brain.
Yeah.
But I feel the physical body is learning much quicker. Brain really struggles to learn.
Because there is so much that comes in the way. So yeah, I mean there are a lot of similarities. If you work out every day, but you don't eat healthy, that comes in the way of you. You know, it will only really show when your environment and your actions come together. So diet and exercise, right? Wow, I know so much for somebody who doesn't do any of this. I mean, I feel like such a
क्या advice दे रहा है?
Oh God.
People must be thinking, "Ooh, Dr. Sid works out every day."
I mean, I know all the muscles and how to work out, but
yeah, that's fine. That's all that's required.
Yeah, I mean, technically I can give great advice, but
so I also feel that, I mean, the difference between muscle training and training the brain, for example, is that you can use other things. So if you're training a muscle, all you need to do, or all you do is just do that particular action. And if you do an action 100 times, and if you do an action 1,000 times, your muscle is more trained than what was at 100 times.
right.
But with the brain, so for example, with learning, you can use other things like what we had talked about in the memory thing, that just by reading something 100 times may not improve your brain memory as much as attaching some other kind of let's say exposure or other stimulus to it.
Viral.
Correct.
That kind of thing. So I mean, it's not only restricted to repetition.
Yeah.
The brain has so much more that you can try and use these other hacks to use it.
So that's a very interesting comment, because in the muscle, the attachments are already formed.
Correct.
So you don't have to worry about what is attaching where. You just have to keep working it up and down.
Yeah, forming the network is not happening.
Forming the network is not your job.
You just have to strengthen it. Whereas in the brain, the networks are still loose. It's still fluid. And you have to first connect the damn thing and then strengthen it.
And there are so many ways it could connect. If you find the right way to connect it and then strengthen it.
Or they might, or maybe connect it in many ways so that the overall connection becomes better.
Yep.
Which is why so the brain is super efficient. So if you learn music, there are a lot of networks that get connected, which end up getting used in other places. So like in maths or logical thinking, because the same networks are getting used, and the networks don't care why you're using them, as long as they're getting fired up and well oiled. The same things will get used everywhere. So
I'm going to use this example whenever people ask, has does playing chess help in other areas of life? I'm going to use this.
Yeah, 100%.
Strengthening connections for other things.
You tell me, does that, do you feel that it has made a difference?
I guess so. I don't know if it is because of that. It's hard to say, but it does help me in studying. When I was studying back then, maybe it did. Also, the curiosity level, maybe because in chess I develop it, so maybe it applies to the other areas of life.
Yeah.
And
like-
for example, discipline or like work ethic is required in chess. So if I'm taking other tasks, maybe I naturally will get that. Could be.
So would you like, if say if there's a decision making algorithm in chess where you say that I'm going here next or that there next, do you think you use that kind of thing in everyday life?
Yeah, I think it could be, because let's say in calculation there is a rule method of elimination. So you see this move works,
Correct.
okay, then it doesn't, you remove that. Whatever is left, you use it.
Right.
Maybe when I'm taking the decisions, I use that. Okay, is this the
So if
path
you're buying
to
a
go?
car, for example, or you're buying something,
Yeah.
then you might want to eliminate other things and zero in on the thing
Yeah,
you're doing.
like just one of the things, method of elimination. There are so many techniques, so maybe
Yeah,
I
sure,
would be
exactly.
using it somewhere
Yeah.
or the other.
Softly you're using them.
How could
As
you
it said that it's
not?
connected.
Yeah. I mean, even in, I'm really interested in this. Even in conversations, do you foresee conversations? Like if I say this, then they'll say this, so then I'll say this, and then so this is how it'll end, or this is where it will go. Because that's how chess works.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you use this in human interactions? Because I'm very curious about this.
Not sure. Maybe I'm not that conscious enough to notice.
Maybe.
If I consciously think about it, like now if I'm talking and I'll be thinking about it, can I predict what you'll say?
Yeah.
Then maybe, but I'm not conscious enough to notice that.
Yeah.
Weak brain.
No, I think that, I mean, I feel like it does tend to happen for two reasons. One is the networks that I said. The other is metaphor. So we all tend to see things using some metaphor or the other, and the metaphor is usually something related to us. So Amrita might see it as lettering or dance or because whatever is the metaphor that we understand the most, we tend to see things in that light. So chess also, I remember when I had gone through a phase where I was playing a lot of pool, like billiards, and there I
So you do exercise.
Yeah. Yes. So these
not the swimming pool.
So that too. So when I was swimming, you realize that okay, everything is about keeping your breathing fixed and regular, and then you can exert so much for a longer time if you can just control your breathing in swimming.
Oh, you meant swimming when you said
No,
that.
no, I didn't. I was talking
okay.
about billiards, but just the idea of how things can be very chaotic, and if you suddenly see a board and the balls are all over the board, but then if you keep playing, you'll start seeing patterns. You'll start seeing how this one thing can go between the other two and hit the you can start seeing shapes and triangles.
It's absolutely correct. I think once there was a seminar where the very famous musician came and he showed us that in music there is so much of pattern recognition. Like the same melody will be used in some song, and that's why we connect to it. We like it because we have heard it before. It was in a lullaby and stuff like this. And in chess also, it's so much of pattern recognition.
Correct.
So it really, like in every part of life, it's there in a way.
You do that.
I mean, also in medicine, like medicine is mainly pattern recognition.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have a collection of symptoms and a collection of lab signs, and I mean that's chiefly the way you get to a diagnosis.
Yeah.
So
which is very heartening, because when I was studying medicine, I thought that medicine is not an art. I mean, it's just padai. But then you realize that it's just like, say, chess or pool, like the same board. When I see it and when Vidit sees it, it's a different board completely, because you will see patterns that I will never see. And it's just like that with medicine, because the same patient different doctors will see different things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And like basically the padai is enhancing your chance of seeing pattern.
Exactly.
So that's basically what it's doing.
Actually, we can then even train ourselves to be happy, right? By constantly
Tell me
trying to
more.
make our constantly trying to be happy.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
that's also
probably.
DLPFSC,
Yeah.
because we are trying to focus on the positives. What is gratitude? We are trying to bring our attention constantly to the positives, right?
Yeah. So
So we
literally
can actually train to ourselves to be happy.
when we tell each other, look at the bright side. Look at the bright side. Like, you keep telling everybody, look at like, bus kar yaar. But then that what they're actually doing is that, like, train your mind to turn your
Look at the
attention
bright
there. And if you keep doing that, this sort of what you just said, this sort of ties up with back to discipline. In that, now we spoke about like where discipline is coming from. So DLPFC, we'll call it D for discipline only now. And your orbitofrontal cortex saying, what log kya kahenge, like what will society say. And literally it's like if your society is taking care of all the response inhibition. So now if you want to kill someone, hopefully never, but then if society is saying don't, Sanat is looking very disappointed.
Yeah.
But
What the hell?
आज रात का plan था.
If
I
society
didn't
is
come here
saying
for these things.
I'm a doctor. I save lives.
Exactly.
In the day.
oh god, we are back to
I
day
mean, it's a
jobs and
thin
night
line,
jobs.
frankly. I mean, you have all the tools when you're a doctor. So.
God.
Okay, muting
Your
Sanat for a
patients are
while.
watching this, okay?
For your own good, I'm muting you for your
I
own
know.
good.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm sorry I'm not reading chat. I'm kind of like really into this. I promise, as soon as I finish this diagram, I will read chat. So when society says don't do it, then what is actually happening is you are relieving your DLPFC of that role.
Because
And-
it's extrinsic.
Because now it is extrinsic. So then the DLPFC doesn't have to deal with all that extra load of ye karna hai kya, ye karna hai kya, ye karna hai. Society is already said and we agree with society because we care what society thinks.
Right.
So now DLPFC can now focus on all its other jobs apart from response inhibition, which is planning and fluidity and multitasking and all those other things, which actually gets things done. So you have to waste less time in preventing yourself
Correct.
from doing things and actually focus on getting things done, which is how it nicely ties up with what Vidit said, that discipline gives you more freedom.
Right.
And this is freedom, right? If you
So basically here, when society is telling you the OFC is taking over part of the DLPFC's role. Is that right?
Correct. So we have outsourced discipline to society,
To OFC, correct.
to OFC.
So that's what discipline training in school does, for example.
Right.
I mean, it tells you what society thinks is good or bad.
Yeah.
And basically takes away from the DLPFC.
So school training, military training, in fact, anywhere where there is a high stakes environment. So
Right.
in the military, if you are going to trust each soldier that they will be disciplined, that is fine. But then what are the stakes? So if you are at war and then, if everybody's just doing their own thing, the cost of failure is probably more.
Correct.
And so you can't risk trusting your DLPFC. So then your OFC has to take care of it.
And when there is less failure, I give in and then I have a chocolate now. There is not a high risk. So
Yeah, because last time you took it with much more, trepidation. But now nobody said anything. We were all laughing. Vidit, kya kar raha hai? Dal, niche rag.
I have a question here.
Yes.
So, this thing where the society, the system, extrinsic factors decide discipline for you, so you can focus on other things like planning, fluidity, etc., which in turn gives you more freedom, probably makes you more creative. Now, let's take the example of children. right? School में ये होता है that the system decides discipline for you. So as per what we just discussed, it should give more room for creativity. We could say that children are more creative in a lot of ways than
Yeah.
adults are. They
Yeah.
problem solve in a lot more ways than adults do. But then what society deems inappropriate or what society says you shouldn't do could also be curbing creativity in a way, right?
Exactly.
So ये थोड़ा counterintuitive नहीं
It
हुआ?
is that no, that is exactly the problem. That now we kind of understand where both of these are coming from. Like, why do we need DLPFC and why do we need your OFC to relieve your DLPFC of a little, extra work? Yeah.
Like OFC का सिर्फ यही तो नहीं हो सकता है society. There has to be some other role also, no? It's just like not social construct. There must be something else also to it, right?
It is so your orbitofrontal cortex is sort of very closely connected with both what you yourself want, so the things that you value,
Value.
and very closely connected with your body. So what does your body want? So now if your body says I'm hungry, there is a limit to how much OFC will listen to society. And at one point, if you're so hungry, you might end up stealing.
Okay.
Even if society says don't, because there is a limit.
Override
Okay.
हो जाता है.
Similarly, there is how valuable is something. Now you might not steal $50, but then if you find 5 lakh rupees,
Oh.
and if you value it so much, then this will override this. So it is all like, I mean, this OFC is not like a demarcated area. Like, these are just neurons connecting.
Yeah.
So everything is connected very, very closely. But then roughly this is the spectrum. And
Okay.
you're literally walking
So
between
yeah,
so many seesaws,
correct.
Yeah. What were you saying, Sanat?
No, I was just saying it's like a seesaw.
Okay.
So if we fix the society and fix the intrinsic factors in a way that it gives you just the right amount of discipline, fix our education, make it vocational, inclusive. Like if we fix that meter,
Sure.
then we could reach the optimum creative flow,
Correct.
right?
Yes. And the reason that they haven't been able to is, one, probably this level of understanding isn't there. Two, it's much easier to do that for one kid, two
Yes.
kids.
Hmm.
If you are head of a country and you have to make a rule for 5 crore kids with an like a intelligence ranging from everywhere, or at least starting intelligence, like I believe that everything can be taught,
Changed.
but that challenge is much more. So then you feel like outsourcing more and more to your OFC, so that we'll create the system, let everybody be disciplined, and then we can see what each kid is doing, so to
Yeah.
speak. And that is exactly what school has become.
Yeah, because like of course we spoke about self-discipline, but discipline for the functioning of a society, for a
Yeah.
larger body is also so important, because how would you collaborate? How
Yeah.
would you depend on each other?
Exactly. So
Again, it's a system, not a discipline.
Yeah.
No, so everybody, because the system is making the discipline, everybody has the same understanding of discipline. If your school tells you that you have to be there at 6 and you're working with a partner for a project, you show up at 6 and they don't, then you can't work with them. Because the school decides you have to show up at 6, you both will show up at 6, and now you can collaborate and you can work together.
yeah.
The system will have to decide for everybody. Right.
And that sets the stage for every form of cooperation
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
Correct.
And yeah, so
No, I feel discipline is again like, okay, we all 4 of us are going to meet at 9:30. We have decided that that's the discipline.
Yeah.
But how we are going to talk about it, there's no structure to it. So we are free flowing with the ideas. That's the system part, right? There's no system. But the discipline part is, okay, we will come at 9:30. No, it doesn't matter what.
yeah, and this
नहीं तो late
conversation,
OP होगा. That is OFC.
That
लोग
is
क्या
OFC.
करेंगे?
OFC.
OFC.
Yeah, correct. Late OP is OFC.
I love it. Oh my god. With it, yeah. I should stop being impressed, but then yeah, that was very good. That was exactly so society's feedback is exactly late OP, and the shit, I forgot what I was gonna say.
You were talking about beating at 9:30, how the conversation.
Yes, thank you, Amrita. So the idea of how we are able to have this free flowing conversation because we created that rigid system where all of us meet in the same time, in the same place, because otherwise these are conversations that we have with our friends in random fragments at multiple times, and वो sparks of creativity होते रहता है उधर इधर, but to bring it together and to form, to make a like a final product or whatever out of it needs a lot of discipline from a lot of people.
So for me, Sanat and Vidit, Siddharth is the OFC that is telling us what discipline is. But for Siddharth, it's intrinsic. It's self-discipline. Is that how it is?
No, I mean, I think that we are all here for our own sort
No,
of...
I mean, you decided what time we meet, right?
Ha, correct. Okay. Yes. Fair
So in
enough.
that sense, you are the system for us. You set the rule for us.
Yes. So that you don't have to decide.
Exactly.
And if any one of you had to decide that would be an extra load on your DLPFC.
Yeah.
Exactly. So our DLPFC was free.
Yeah.
It was fixing the timing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you don't have to read the chat, and actually I don't have to read the chat apparently.
You have to. You have
You have to.
You should.
Yeah.
Okay. Chat, hi. I'm now turning my undivided attention towards you. How have you been? I hope you really enjoyed this conversation. We are not done yet. We are going to do a summary, because I loved what Vidit did with the last summary on failure. But we are going to do a summary. But now let's just see what chat is up to. So Sai Krishna said that discipline then is the false public front for complex private procedures. Okay, wait, let me read that again. Discipline then is the false public front for complex private procedures, from Manu Joseph's brilliant piece called The Impossibility of Discipline.
को समझा ही नहीं.
मेरे को भी नहीं समझ
मैं अभी भी घुमा रहा हूँ उसको. This is the kind of thing that you write to get published. What does this mean? False public front for complex private procedures. I'm instinctively disagreeing, but that's maybe because I don't understand. Because I think that discipline is inherent in almost everything we do. मतलब ऐसा कोई है ही नहीं जो completely zero discipline है, क्योंकि it is not possible to survive.
By false, if he means like made up construct, then yes. I mean, we've made...
But everything is a made up construct.
Yeah, I mean,
so,
yeah.
Like literally from absolute chaos to absolute rigidity, if you are going, then discipline is what is taking you in that journey.
Yeah.
Because we are constantly creating patterns and sticking to it, more importantly. So then that is discipline. So yeah, you want to change the world, make your bed first. Yeah, this I've heard. Bill McHaven. I think he was an army general or something. So the best way to change the world is to start making our own bed.
And actually it's very good, because let's say I was doing this mindfulness training.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing in the morning, I make sure that I'll make my bed mindfully. So I start my day with it, and it's a success because it's easy.
Yeah.
In my mind, like, yes, well done, 2 minute ka बहुत बढ़िया काम कर दिया.
Correct.
And next time I do it, I'll be like, yes, I got that reward.
Yeah.
I'll be more inclined to do it, and you
Yeah.
build your day along that. So
Yeah.
how you start the day is super duper important.
Yeah. You
That
said,
used to be the first dope hit before Instagram. First dope hit of the day.
yeah.
But like Siddharth had said, like if you have this Instagram, Twitter, your dopamine level reached to such heights that later on everything is a disappointment.
Everything
Yes.
comes
Correct.
out. So you have to keep going back. So तुम्हारा day का baseline तुमने उधर रख दिया already. And it's like how in EDM music you always have that big drop in the end.
Yeah.
अगर शुरुआत में ही डाल दिया तो फिर उसके बाद everybody is just bored.
So now the peak of the stream is going to come. This was
Yes.
just a trailer.
Pallav Doshi said that it's giving up present freedom for future freedom. I can get why he says that, but I don't think so. I think that freedom is like a whole other discussion. Like freedom is so conceptual. मुझे तो फ्रीडम भी स्कैम ही लगता है, बट
ये क्या स्कैम नहीं लगता है?
to be very honest, I don't know. I'm going to read the Gita and hopefully get some answers, but I don't know. I think that when you, the minute you decide that I am doing this for my future, it that also signifies some amount of freedom. Like you are choosing that, right? Like you are choosing to do this because you have a plan and you have drawn that line, and you have drawn that line. Nobody else has drawn that line. So it's like freedom is literally choosing your own imprisonment, sort of.
For me, like the freedom is, let's say how freedom and discipline combined is, let's say I do my main work until lunch, and then the rest of the day I have freedom to do what I want to do. Like I can watch YouTube, I can come on Sid stream,
Sure.
I've finished all my work, and
Yeah.
now I can have a discussion, you know.
But
But if I don't have done my work, it's constantly croaking behind my mind, and I'm not really here as well.
that's, yeah. I always have this term that keeps coming up very randomly. It's called chaos in a bubble. And I come across this thought again and again in different contexts at how I instinctively chase chaos, but not at the cost of ruining the system, because the system has been built with great care, and I'm very proud of the system. But you want chaos. You want that sense of instability and what is happening.
Not one line of chaos.
Not, yeah, it's not, yeah, you don't, you want to have that sense of being out of control, but you don't want to be out of control in your whole system.
So in your stream, it's okay if you have one or two technical problems, but if the entire stream is filled with that,
It's a problem.
Yeah.
it's a problem.
It's a problem. Then, yeah, like the whole thing, if the whole thing crashes, then it's pointless. But if it is just a small thing, then it's something to learn from.
Yeah, it's
So that is like chaos in a bubble. So that actually requires a lot of discipline to create that bubble first.
Bursts of chaos.
Yeah, and you create that bubble, and then inside that bubble, anything can happen. It doesn't matter, but it's in a bubble. And so when you said with it, like you have finished your work and now you're free, it's sort of like that. Like you've created an environment where talk anything, do
Where
anything.
you've permitted yourself to enjoy some chaos without any long-term negativity.
Negativity. तो उसके अंदर जो भी हो रहा है, now in this conversation, whatever we talk, it's okay. Like we have this space now to say whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, sort of. Divyakro 2, fictitious construct to avoid entropy of reality. That is true. That is
Yeah,
life.
that's a good one. Yeah, correct.
That is
That is life, it seems.
I feel the chat should be in the panel instead of me, because half of the things I don't understand.
no. So Divyakro 2
So
has been,
smart.
yeah. Although in the last stream he told me that he is going away for 15 days, but clearly he didn't stick to that.
He didn't have the discipline to do so.
I'm glad. Bhanu Prakash, why do we break discipline after few days, like 4 days, a week, or 15 days, and get sidetracked from long-term goals? Does the DLPFC require some willpower recharge? Yeah. So the problem with the DLPFC is that it is really recently evolved. And the problem with being recently evolved is that तुम्हारा energy efficiency is not good. So like your limbic system can just work for days and months and years and not get tired. Like your heart muscle, right? Like your heart muscle is beating all your life and it doesn't really get tired, but your hand and leg muscles get tired because it's sort of formed only differently. They're not even fundamentally that they're like different kinds of muscles. It's almost like that. Because your DLPFC gets tired, like it's not trained, and you have to, it's not trained evolutionarily. So you have to train it in your lifetime. मतलब जितना जल्दी train किया उतना years of healthy living probably you can have. I guess, yeah. Kalpesh said, which part is more effective while taking decision, DLPFC or OFC? And what is more effective, having a efficient friend circle or training DLPFC? That's actually a good question. Peer pressure is a lot of OFC.
Correct. Yeah.
like that is everything. For a long time, log kya kahenge, that log is initially your parents. Then for a while, I think in your teenage years, it is just your friends. Like you don't, that is your peer group, and that is your OFC. And then later on, it becomes your colleagues and strangers and chat. But yeah, I don't know. So more effective is very tricky. I think that, so one of the hacks is, I think that you should use every part of your brain. I don't think we should start creating enemies.
Hierarchies.
Yeah, I don't think you should create enemies with any part of your brain, because you need all of them. So don't villainify anyone, but I think you should utilize each part separately. Let's see if
Like-
we can do that. Yeah.
Use all the weapons, knife and a gun.
Yeah, baby.
And also some cuddles, yeah?
Dude, this is a very surreal moment, I have to say.
Yeah. How do you feel with just quoting your post?
Yeah, I'm not. I've kept it to one side. I'm gonna deal with that later. So Kalpesh has said, okay, Vidit, he's a really big fan. Congratulations for the gold.
Thank you.
All right, now there is a lot of chat that I still have to cover, but I do want to get to the what do we do part of it, because this is really fun for me.
What do we do for what? To become more disciplined?
Yeah.
I was hoping you will answer that.
Yes, that's what we are all waiting for.
No, tell me your hacks, because you've all done so much, and you all have developed your own ways. So what is, Sanat? What's your hack?
Scheduling,
Okay.
switching off the phone, or let's say switching off distractions that I can visualize.
Excellent. All right, wait. So scheduling is one.
Yeah.
And then removing
But
distraction.
also-
Removing distract.
You
Yeah,
also
sorry.
mentioned this is for, like, you're saying these things for discipline in what? Like discipline for a certain activity, or like in life in general?
Oh,
Like in
interesting.
life in general, I would say. No?
Because you can probably do this individually for everything you
For
want to.
yeah, correct, exactly.
But the hacks would be different probably for different activities, which is why I was asking what
How?
in what context.
For how, for example?
No, I mean, like for saying dancing or having a daily routine, how do you ensure that you practice every day versus how do you ensure that you make your bed every day? Could have different hacks. I mean, I just needed to know the context of these hacks were for what.
I think that scheduling sort of works for everything. Like you have a fixed time for whatever it is you're doing. I mean, whether it is workout or study, or like have a time. That's what Sanat is saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Removing distractions is like awesome. Yeah.
Mm,
Amrita?
mm,
What?
So I don't have any hacks because I'm not a disciplined person. But I spoke to a friend and she told me her hack. I'm going to quote that.
Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
Like, hi Sanika, if you're watching this. So what she said is, whenever she has a deadline or a timeline, say for any sort of submission or to get some work done, a delivery. So suppose from 0 to 100, 0 is the day when it is announced that you're supposed to submit XYZ, and if 100 is the day of submission. What most people would do is procrastinate till 70 and then work from 70 to 100.
Right.
What she does is she procrastinates till 50, works from 50 to 80, which is the same amount that people would work from 70 to 100, submit it at 80, and then enjoy free time or feel good about the fact that she's submitted earlier from 80 to 100. So
Procrastination.
she changes the timeline in her head.
Yeah.
Like if the submission date is the 23rd, in every reminder, in every post-it note, in everything, she will put it as 21st or 20th.
Yeah. That's the long-term version of fast forwarding your
Putting
clocks.
a watch 5 minutes past.
Yeah,
Huh.
that's what
It's like
lot of people
it's
do.
called it's Parkinson's law.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, when you have a deadline, let's say next week, I put the deadline 3 days before it actually, and then
Right.
then it
Okay.
gets the work gets
Correct.
done.
Work done.
But like in my case, I will know that I'm cheating myself, so I won't be able
Yeah,
to.
I mean that happens with the 5 minutes fast
Yeah,
watch
my
as well.
Gadi is also
Yeah.
5 minutes aage, and it never helps.
In fact, you
Yeah.
spend 15 more seconds calculating it each time.
Exactly. But she is able to like hardwire it so much that she
Yeah.
believes that that is the reality, that is the actual deadline, and she can operate accordingly.
Right.
That's what she does.
You have to outsource the outsourcing. So somebody else has to tell you the date. So you are never sure.
Correct.
Or somebody else has to fast forward the clocks. And you don't know.
But again, I think this is, how our brain cannot understand the context of time. Like 1 week feels like a lot, but
Yeah.
it's not.
It's
you
not.
know.
Yeah.
So stupid sometimes, brain doesn't understand it.
We will
Then
talk
one day
about
before
this.
we go in detail. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No. I mean, it is actually fascinating because time literally. I am now beginning to feel like we are entering into the world of physics because time behaves differently the more attention you give it.
Yeah.
Like the way you
Agreed.
divide attention, time itself behaves differently. So, in fact, okay. So I'll tell you one of my hacks. Like I'm just going to slide one in here.
Awesome.
So I have realized that I get bursts of attention, focus, creativity whenever I'm faced with something new. And so I literally, so what I do is I create a carousel of things and I keep switching my attention like this. So I will always have at least 2 things going on and usually more because I feel like when I pay attention to something, my attention sort of drops. And so when it reaches here, I switch my attention to something else and then something else and something else. And this is when I want to be super efficient, okay? Like not otherwise, but not on a vacation or something. But then if I have, so the more urgent something is, the more things I have going on. Because it just helps me stay there, like stay in that level. But if I keep doing one thing, I can't. So this is just how, I mean, everybody will do it differently, but I tend to do this so that since my energy level is already high and the only reason I'm going down is because I'm getting bored, I just switch my energy to something else and then something else. And I know I'm not worried about this because I know it's coming back.
So basically, when Sid reads the chat, he's bored with us, but then he comes back and then he goes there and back and forth.
Not cool.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
The channel does not represent the panel. Okay? The guests' opinions are their own. But this is sort of like this is how juggling works. So you are at every time you have 1 or 2 things in your hands, but there are 3 things in the air. But then when you get comfortable enough, you know that okay, they are not going to fall. And so you are spending a certain amount of time with one thing and you're doing everything you can. So it is being mindful in that moment. But I have trouble being mindful on one thing for a very long period of time. So I tend to do it, if I want to do it for a long time, I tend to do this. Like I make sure that this is one of the things that keeps recurring, like it keeps coming back.
I think it makes sense. So basically your brain, attention, interestingness of the brain, like you have to keep it interested.
Yeah.
Interestedness.
Yes.
Sorry. And the thing is, in the preparation wise, I am studying one line, and then after a while, if I go too deep in it, I get bored. Then I just move to a different line.
Yeah.
And then it's interesting. It's all new information. And but like let's say if you're studying about a subject, let's say physics, you read about one chapter, and if you go too deep in it, you'll get bored because उसमें कुछ नया नहीं आ रहा है.
Okay.
But you read something else related to that itself, but you're still doing physics.
Yeah.
I think that would be more efficient than like, let's say, doing completely different.
Yeah. True.
Like, let's say suddenly start doing dishes and then come back to physics. I don't know if it'll work out.
I mean, it will work in a different way. It will still work, but then what you've said is, if you can do that, like if you can just switch a little bit, like if you're playing long form chess and if you switch to speed chess and then come back to long form chess, that short change might also work. So you don't need to completely switch your entire subject of what you're
doing. That's what I meant.
That's also very cool, because that's what happens when you're close to exams. So for me, like if you're 1 week away from exams and you don't want to sort of go to play football because you're bored of studying, you just change the subject that you're studying, or you change the textbook. Okay.
So you trick yourself into believing you're doing something new, but it's actually just the 5 things that are going
the novelty.
Leveraging the novelty. Right. Vidit, what are your hacks? I'm super interested in this.
So recently I discovered like what Sanat said makes sense, scheduling.
Yeah.
And I just add a reward system to it. So every time I do it, I get a tick mark or something, and it feels good that, okay, I ticked off, I see my list, I had 10 to-do list and I managed all this 10, then I feel great. So some reward system to the schedule. Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Yeah. Totally.
And
this is very
having
important.
short goals, like how Amrita had said, that really works well. Like making the bed, that's a good way for me to build discipline for later on, because I've decided it feels good, I've managed to do it. Doing small steps which are easily doable. So instead of having like 3 hours I'm going to work on chess, I'll just be like, okay, or like I have to do 10 different openings. Instead of that, I'll be like, I'll pick one line and I'll do that well, something like this.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, like, I completely agree with that, because that is sort of how I do it also, because every time if that carousel comes back and you are doing that, you are then achieving 1 or 2 to-do lists in that subject.
So just clarify, like in the carousel, if it's time for you to move to the next, but you're really enjoying something, then you'll stop even if you're enjoying, or if you're deep in it, and then go to the next.
Time frame, right?
The time frame is relative. Like I'll switch when I'm here. So
okay. So you'll switch when you start to get bored.
Bored, yeah.
Okay.
So then, I mean, this could take like a month or a day or whatever, a few hours. So that doesn't matter.
Correct.
But then as soon as you're here, there is this one point where now I now know, okay, it's coming down. So then you switch. And the most important challenge in this system is documentation.
Yeah.
Because you have to make sure that in that few minutes or hours or days that you're working on this, it doesn't get wasted by the time you come back. You don't have to do the whole thing again, which is sort of where note taking comes in, and that's that whole concept. But because if you're it shouldn't get wasted. That's basically it. Then the carousel system works very well, because then you actually what happens is, then after working for like 4 months, suddenly you have 4 things achieved.
Yeah. Correct.
Instead of just one.
So like it will also depend on what outcome you value. Like some people will value just the number of tasks they've done. Some people will value getting tasks done fast. Like they don't want the monkey of 10 tasks sitting on your shoulders. And then if you're doing a carousel, then you have that monkey sitting till you finish all of them. So if you're that kind of person, then you might want to finish the shortest task first, then do the next shortest task, then do the next shortest task, and only be left with the.
That's true.
Or say if your outcome, if you've weighted the values of your task. So if this is important and this is little less important and this is little less important, then I think that parameter also comes into play. Okay. So it depends on what is your goal when you bring in discipline.
So I think,
or like what metric you're using to measure your goal to bring in discipline.
The thing that sort of switched me over to the carousel system is when I realized that it's very difficult to have an end goal. Because the end goal is arbitrary. Like whenever you reach there, you will always find that, there is another level and another level.
Absolutely. So correct. No end goal is wrong. I mean, just finishing a large number of tasks is a legitimate and
Yeah.
not wrong end goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, if that is your end goal, then if keeping people happy, not making them wait for a long time to get replies to emails is your goal, then switching off distractions doesn't really work.
I
So
understand what you mean.
I mean, and that's also a part of discipline. Like if you're disciplined enough to reply to emails every on the second minute that they arrive,
Yeah.
I mean, you can call it discipline.
You can also,
It's just that your
I think
metric of measurement is
they lose respect. I have heard it. I've heard somewhere that if you email them immediately back,
immediately,
like,
then yeah.
What?
No, actually, I'll gain their respect.
What
actually,
is this
if
hard
they
to
do it.
play?
So
Phattak?
I mean, if you're working, yeah.
ऐसा वो वेल्ला लगते हैं, but I don't think so. I like that they're so professional because in
Yeah,
my work
exactly.
field, I feel like they're
That's-
super
yeah.
professional. Wow,
Since
replying
when did
within
we
a day.
start playing hard to get an email? Nobody gave me the memo.
Yeah, I was just kidding.
See, that's why Sid doesn't reply to the chat immediately.
Yeah.
Oh.
That is not.
Oh.
Vidit, what are
he
you
replied-
doing? Why are I had a good
Very hard to get.
I'm
I
just
had a
kidding. Sorry.
good relationship with chat till now. Oh
just a
no.
joke.
Okay.
So just one point here.
Yes.
So what we've spoken in the last 2 minutes, which is feedback
Hmm.
plus documentation plus
Yeah.
metric, is how I leverage social media to keep myself disciplined in making art. So
No. Can you say that again? Feedback plus.
feedback plus documentation
Huh.
plus metric of what you think is your goal or what is success.
Okay. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
self-value. Huh.
Yeah. So all these three
Or value,
things
correct.
work perfectly in the case where I leverage social media to stay disciplined while making art.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I
Right,
try
correct.
keeping regularly making art and posting it probably twice a week,
Yeah.
because I get instant feedback in terms of likes and comments.
Yeah.
It's documented on my feed forever, and my metric is external validation because that's
Absolutely. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's the right motivation to have, but it works perfectly. It does keep me motivated. It
I
does
don't really
allow.
think there's a right and wrong in
Huh.
what kind of
But
motivation.
Yeah.
It makes sense because I mean they are hacking you every day. You might as well hack them back.
Because of that, I'm making a lot more art now that I
Yeah.
have to depend on that, which
Makes
I mean
sense.
works well for me. So I'm not really.
So even
I think Jerry,
yeah.
sorry,
No, tell me.
I think Jerry Seinfeld also had a system like this. He had a chain method. So he had a calendar. So every time he wrote a joke on his he starts the day by writing the joke. He would make a cross on the calendar, and like that, if you put cross, it looks like a chain. So that chain should
Right.
never break.
Yeah.
That was
So
his
he
way
should
of
have one joke every
documenting
day,
it,
yeah.
Documentation.
and that was his reward. Like oh, this
Yeah.
looks, my chain is there intact,
Correct.
like a
Yeah.
streak,
Yeah.
and also
So
it's documented.
that is what all documentation gives you, right? Like so if you are even something like streaming, when you do just one video and then you don't do anything for like a month, you have less motivation. But then if you suddenly have a collection of like 10, 12 of them, you feel like, oh, now I've created something. Now it's your own little feedback.
Might as well go on. Yeah.
Dopamine hit, huh?
Dopamine hit, and that's how you I mean before you started ruining it, chat was very good with me, and that was also a dopamine hit.
Who really started ruining it is the question.
Yes.
Sorry.
Siddharth.
Oh my god. Okay, so there are just one or two things that I thought we could add because everything is covered.
Yeah. And also, like, to add to Sanat's point,
Yeah.
what was his second point? Can you just show me?
Yeah, he said removing distractions.
That's very good, because I noticed that when I'm working, if I have my phone near me and it's connected to Wi-Fi, that's the worst.
Yeah.
Like, that's the worst. It always gets me distracted, but I simply don't have it. Then I did that experiment and I was much more productive. And also, once I was struggling to sleep on time, and then I did an experiment for a week. I didn't have any technology near my bed, and I switched it off 1 hour before my actual time. And then I actually went to bed, like, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Just creating that environment is so important.
Correct.
Let's say I have my shoes right next to me and I have to go for a walk.
Yeah.
I'm more likely to wear them and go rather than
Correct. Which is why a lot of disciplined so in the army, there are people who will like keep shoes polished and keep your shirt pant ready and jacket ready, ironed at 6 a.m. And if that system is ready, then you can just slot into it. But if you have to get up and polish your shoes, that you're adding another hurdle,
Extra effort.
extra effort to you.
Yeah.
So you make it as easy for you as possible to be disciplined.
Very good. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good way to put it.
Excellent. The couple of things I thought, this is from a completely neuroscience perspective. Like I was literally drawing and figuring out, okay, how can I solve this problem? So if your DLPFC is having an issue, the only thing that's like comes in the way is one, your orbitofrontal cortex, so what people will say, and one is your limbic system, which is your pleasure and pain. So it's literally like level 1 and level 2 of instinctive response. So these are the two things where your instinctive desires come from. कि मुझे immediately क्या करना है, and then your DLPFC has the role of saying no, don't do this, don't do that. So one way of discipline is to change your instinctive response. So then your DLPFC doesn't have to do much work.
बहुत मुश्किल है वो.
Very
I feel,
difficult.
because it's so
Yeah.
ingrained.
Yeah.
Correct.
Correct.
So one thing I read in Atomic Habits was about smoking. So if somebody offers a cigarette and you've tried to stop smoking and you say, no thanks, I'm trying to stop smoking or I'm trying to quit, versus no thanks, I don't smoke. So what you are actually doing is you are sort of changing your identity. Now this is just one example, but like if you change who you identify with, like who am I as a person, and if you start identifying yourself as a disciplined person versus an indisciplined person trying to be disciplined,
Correct.
it's a very simple change. Of course, it will take time to stick, but then suddenly what you are doing is hacking into your OSC.
You're rebranding again.
You're rebranding yourself, and it might sound very silly, but it works because after a while all your self identity changes. So then you have less of a fight here, so you can start fighting lesser.
Right.
And this is the easier thing. So changing your self identity is easier, because if you go further below to change what your limbic is saying was of pleasure and pain, that is much more difficult, because this is you're saying कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता, मुझे चॉकलेट मिला या नहीं मिला कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, ये सब कुछ ऐसे ही है, I will just keep doing what I have to do. That is much more difficult, more maya, and that is more difficult to get rid of.
Right.
So it is easier to change your identity than to say ki I will give up on pleasure and pain.
And I think you also have a predetermined response. Let's say you're faced with a conflict and you have already selected that, okay, I'll be compassionate and empathetic. You don't have to think. That's already becomes your personality.
Okay.
That's your identity.
If you run it in that loop enough number of times.
Yeah. It takes time to build in, but then once it sets in, it becomes your personality. It's your automatic decision. There is less friction.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. If it's like every time you have to think कि ये हुआ अभी मैं क्या करूँ, such a decision making. Like
that's why they say we have to live by some principles, right? Then it becomes easier.
Correct. So living in the moment is very exhausting.
Yeah.
You can't. How can you? Like you're literally saying I have all that has happened in the past will have no meaning, and I will rebrand my identity every moment. हो ही नहीं सकता. Just think of the effort.
Yeah.
So much decision making.
हो सकता है.
हो सकता है. So then of course हो सकता है, but it हो सकता है if your identity has become like that. So then everything becomes in that flow. Everything becomes in that thing. But if you have to rebrand yourself every minute, every second, that cannot happen.
Yeah.
So yeah. Another thing that I thought of was what you said with it about training your DLPFC. So that is sort of like I thought was like the last thing I wanted to talk about. So DLPFC training. This should be an actual course. We should design something like this. DLPFC training. Literally just neural networks. ज़्यादा कुछ complicated नहीं है. And they are vague. They are उधर जा रहे. And you can connect any neuron to any neuron. Like ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है कि ये नहीं कर सकते. any of them can be connected to anyone. It is just a matter of you have to keep doing it. So literally practice and it will happen. And second is, one of the practices you have to do is self-denial, unfortunately, because that is one way to train your neuron of response inhibition. And there is really no other way to train it. You have to do self-denial in some way, in some form.
Basically, not to give in to every mind's wish and want.
Yeah, correct. Because your इधर से request आते रहता है. It's like friend request, you know. If you
Block him. That's how you do self-denial.
What? Lock him?
Block him.
Block him. Exactly. So if you're doing that all the time, do that to your limbic, do that to your OFC, and your DLPFC will figure out.
Yeah. Like fasting, for example.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah. So in almost every religion and every spiritual teaching, self-denial is very intrinsic. Like it is, nowhere is it said कि बिल्कुल ही
eat what you want.
Yeah.
Do what you want.
Yeah. And none of the ones that have lasted anyway.
Yeah. There's a survival bias here, but still.
Yeah. No, but then this is inherently this lesson is cross transferable. So you learn it in one thing.
Yeah.
And you can transfer it
Right.
because your brain doesn't care where you're using it.
Correct.
Anything else?
So what else apart from self-denial? Any other ways to train your DLPFC?
Self-denial.
Repetition, no?
Like practice. Self-denial. And the idea of time.
Yeah.
So like the idea of how long does it take for a neural network to form? Now this is damn subjective because it depends on your age and it literally depends on how fluid your thinking is. Because if you've already formed very clear idea of this is how it should be and this is how it should not, then it is difficult to break and form new connections.
They say I think until 25 your brain can form easily, but after that it's tougher. But I think it's debatable.
It's a spectrum. Like it'll keep.
It'll slower, but still happen.
Yeah. Even at 50, you can learn.
I was watching one podcast. It said when you have like a complete focused effort, your neural networks they change faster. I mean, I think this focused effort brings this neuroplasticity.
Absolutely. Like so focused effort may literally the way your brain electric signals fire are different. So like when you are randomly thinking, daydreaming, your waves are like this, and when you're focused effort, then they are like ekdam fast, like they're like this.
It's like sun is having this light everywhere. When you put it under a beam, it can like burn anything.
Yeah.
Correct.
Very poetic.
But you can also kill ants with it.
We are back to a night job.
This is how it starts.
Ants come on.
And that's how it starts. Animal cruelty is the first sign. All right. Okay. Now I'm going to pay attention to chat again. I'm sorry. This was a very, very gripping talk. Kalpesh said, can you touch upon habit loop? So Kalpesh, we will talk about habits. So that is going to be a whole other stream. I wanted to talk about discipline first because the next time we talk about habits, we will literally be what when we say habits, we are literally talking of how these neural networks connect. So that is what habit formation is, and there'll be a lot more of like in-depth. We'll talk about here, like how will the receptors come and all that. So that'll be fun. Does meditation help with maintaining discipline? Cuff, Black Lotus cuff. Okay. So what is Black Lotus app exactly?
It's a meditation app.
Okay. And
which I use.
You use that. Okay. And did you make it, or you're promoting it, or you're just very fond of it?
I started promoting it since 1 month.
Okay.
But I've been using it for 2 years.
Okay. And that's obviously helped you.
Well, I hope so. No,
This
it
is
has,
yeah.
because it has this also reward system built into it.
Okay.
Every day I do it. Like it's very nice how it is. Like I complete a task and then I get to read a joke in the app itself.
Oh,
How
It's such
Immediately I
a
nice.
do it, I get
classic
a joke.
example of our brain is so stupid. ना मतलब reward system में तो कुछ भी करेंगे अपन.
हाँ. Here, meditate for 2 hours. Now hear a knock knock joke.
हाँ.
It's not even 2 hours. Like even like you do a 3 minutes activity,
Okay.
you get it like at the end of it. Something like this,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
built in.
Yeah, that's nice.
Something.
We'll check it out. Okay. Black Lotus. All right. Now I'm just gonna go over chat. There is a lot, but so in the middle, Srinath said that uh, Jeff Bezos had said, if I don't reply to your email in 5 minutes, don't expect one because I've moved on to something else. So that's probably, yeah. I think that is when we were
उसको
talking
काम भी बहुत है करने को. उसको.
वो भी है. I like how you're very sympathetic. बेचारा busy होगा.
yeah, wow.
ऐसे मत बोलो. Nothing is Kasturi, nothing is perfect in this world. That is true. Self-discipline is good. Imposed discipline is not. There is such a spectrum between self and imposed. Matlab, I don't think we are 100% in one category.
Yeah.
It's like a mix of yeah. How medical student burnout affects the NEET PG preparation, Ganesh Kumar. Oh boy. Yeah, CET preparation is like a whole new game of discipline, and so many people burn out. I think the biggest challenge in all these competitive exams, the biggest challenge is not just academics. It is your mental. How do you balance your? In fact, in any extremely competitive field, like whether it is sports or whether it is exams, in that crunch year or that leading up to that final game, it becomes more of a mental thing, not a skill thing.
Yeah, perseverance and
Skill as well.
Skill as
yeah,
well.
Skill
of
as
course,
well.
right, correct.
Yeah. But it's about how do you maintain that balance, like your state of mind. You should be in a position to apply your skill,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Exactly. I agree.
You
At
can't
that
have one without the other.
because at that final level, like I keep thinking, right? Olympics, gold, silver, bronze, and the 10th guy, skill level may there's no. I mean, I feel that at that level, skill level is almost there, and it's just a game of how or no.
No. There is a difference between skill level,
Right.
but let's say second and third में जो difference है, that could be the attitude, mental toughness, and how it is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
But 1 and 10 में बहुत बड़ा
बहुत
difference है
बड़ा.
skill level का.
Yeah, I accept. That's true. Correct. And that is evident also, like in like Usain Bolt and all. There's like a very clear cut. I mean, he has time to go, like do a thumbs up before he wins. So yeah, definitely. Wait, all warriors are related in some way. Okay, I think somebody's asked about the surname. That is true though. There are, in Kerala weddings, there are aunties whose only job is to find out who is related to whom and how. Like that's it. That's
That way, all humans are related to.
yeah. Okay.
To have common ancestors.
Yeah, Lucy apparently. Please keep the stream public. Yeah, I will. So these streams will always be public, and I think it does have an impact more so on cytokines and limbic. I think we're talking about insula and how it affects our self-image. Increase. Okay, I think that this was a great discussion, guys. This was all I wanted to talk about as far as discipline is concerned. So the thing I realized with these conversations is that there is a lot of subjectivity here, and I'm not sure if anybody was really coming here expecting that, okay, from today onwards my life will be completely different. But that's really is it going to be different? I don't know.
No, but I learn. It's like,
Yeah.
I love a book even if I can learn even one thing from it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there is at least one takeaway for each of us and also the chat.
Yeah.
It cannot be like discipline is solved, but okay, they have learned one thing which they can apply in their lives and it will help them achieve that.
Yeah, because again, I keep coming back to this. We are trying, like, what we are even attempting to do is reverse engineer our brains.
Yeah.
And we are, in a way, this is meditation, because meditation is going inwards and focusing.
Amrita has that smile when you said meditation.
We're just doing it on YouTube live, but it's like
Sure, but
meditation.
if you're spending 2 hours thinking about self and why and what makes
It's your
us,
brain having an existential crisis.
not a
Thinking back on who?
crisis.
No, it's meditation. It's called contemplative
Yeah.
meditation, right? We are contemplating on one topic
Yeah.
and making thoughts on it.
Right. And at some level, this sort of merges into spirituality and philosophy and all of that, and that's okay, because like we talked about in the previous thing, these differences are all abstract. I mean, it's just a way to understand
And
ourselves.
whether these streams change people's lives or not, it's definitely opened up so many new avenues of discussion between people.
Yeah.
I'm talking about these things with people who I didn't even know are interested in having these conversations.
So I think one thing you can always count on is people will always be interested in themselves, and that is global. I don't think it is global. Everybody wants to know about themselves, and it doesn't get more personal than this.
Yeah.
Like, why am I eating that chocolate is such a basic.
तेरा DLPFC ना weak है इसलिए.
Right.
मेरा OFC इतना strong नहीं है.
Correct. You have. That is pretty cool though. Like, if your DLPFC can control your OFC and say shush, too bad to that. I will do this. People have really enjoyed your stand-up comedy with it today. Yeah, it's. I wish I could say the same, but then a lot of it was very personal.
Ouch.
Priyanka has asked, is boredom a part of procrastination? Yeah, sure. But I have a very optimistic view on boredom. I think boredom is pretty awesome if you use it properly. I think that's about it. Okay, guys, thank you so much. I hope you all enjoyed. Panel, you guys are awesome. I love having you on. I love having these discussions. Next week or the week after that, depending on whether you have COVID duty, Sanat, we will talk about biases. So I want to club that with unlearning and how do we break neural networks that have already formed, and why is it so difficult to break them? And that is where biases come in, and I think that's going to be a really, really awesome conversation.
Such amazing topics. Like, I already get excited about it.
Yes, I'm glad I'm able to sell this. No, but it is exciting. So for me, it's very simple. I go with something that blows my mind.
Yeah.
And usually it's universal, because that is what everybody wants to know. Dikratu's saying Black Lotus is Rajabov's enemy, it seems. Really? Oh, Raja. Okay, I heard this name popping up.
Yeah, he's a chess player, Rajabov.
Right.
But I don't know what he means exactly.
Why is it his
by
enemy?
Yeah, that I don't know.
Are you using it to hack your opponents? What does this mean, really?
No, he is a friend
Sure.
of mine, but I don't know what is enemy. I didn't get that reference.
Okay.
But I think there is one request, poetry at the end.
Yeah, I
So
just
Sid,
saw
I
it.
think it's requested to you.
What?
It would be a fitting end.
Poetry
Oh,
at the
God.
end.
Oh God. Okay.
Don't
End
care
with a
about
poem.
OFC. Go for it.
Don't care about OFC. All right.
Don't care about poetry rules. I think.
Let's see. Let me read something that took a lot of discipline to write. I'm going to read an English ghazal.
I think I know this one.
Which one?
Go on. You. There's a video of this, I think.
Probably. Okay. So this one's a little weird, but then all right. It's called a one night stanza. All right. I see second thoughts in your eyes tonight. I think I'll love you twice tonight. It's that kind of poem, in case you didn't get that. I see. So one night stanza. I see second thoughts in your eyes tonight. I think I love you twice tonight. For you, our love is a game of chess. For you, our love is a game of chess. For me, I'm rolling dice tonight. Your secrets have left you frozen still. Your secrets have left you frozen still. My curiosity will break the ice tonight. Our brain needs a reason either way. Our brain needs a reason either way. Let the why not win over the whys tonight. And yes, I will take all that you have. And yes, I will take all that you have, but just your mind may suffice tonight. The pleasure lies in the pain, I hope. The pleasure lies in the pain. I hope you don't waste time being nice tonight.
No.
I see second thoughts in your eyes tonight. I think I love you twice tonight. All right, thank you. That was an English
Thank you.
ghazal.
Getting hot
Very
in
cool.
here.
Were we supposed to say, I mean, that
You were
kind of
supposed to
thing
say
is-
wah wah wah.
Wah,
or
wah,
whatever.
and-
Yeah, but then not when after I've done with the whole thing.
Yeah.
There's like a 10-second gap. So I read this one because it took me a lot of time to figure out how the ghazal is structured. So what is the rhyme scheme and how to write it in couplets and all, because it's very unlike English poems.
Hmm.
And
Very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
वहाँ चल रहा है chat में.
See, now they know how to react. Chat, thank you. You guys are awesome. Guys, thank you. One second. You guys don't go anywhere. Chat, I'll see you on I'll see you on Saturday morning because we will be reading the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So we are reading that at 8 o'clock. Wish me luck. Everybody's been telling me to take it slow, and I think I'm going to take it very, very slow. We'll just have a nice discussion on the first chapter and we'll see how it goes.
8 a.m. I think only good people will wake up.
Good
8
people.
a.m.
Good people.
Like not people who will get hurt. I mean that's
I
what
hope
I meant.
I hope that they wake up a little before, because I'm planning to have a bath and sit. And I hope that everybody does that, because so the way I see it is, if you're doing it, you do it right. Like
Yeah.
let's do that. Let's do the whole discipline thing. Let's follow the rules and let's see what happens. So yeah. Guys, I'll see you all on Saturday morning. Have a wonderful time. Bye.